Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back. This is Overland Weekly, episode number 13. So this episode probably looks a little bit different. We're trying to go with our first live episode. It should be on Instagram and on a couple of YouTube channels. So if you're seeing this live, feel free to comment, and we'll see if those come through here like they're supposed to, and we can talk about what you want to talk about. Before I start, let me play you a little clip to set the tone for what we're going to talk about tonight.
Once upon a time, in the deep, mud-slicked woods of Hawk Pride, there gathered a band of merry idiots, each armed with courage and land cruisers. They were drawn by the call of the wild, the challenge of treacherous hills, and the promise of glory that could only be earned through struggle, or perhaps through foolishness. Through the swirling fog of Mardi Krawl, they ventured where the mud was thicker than soup and the rocks sharper than dragon's teeth. They climbed hills steep enough to humble giants and crossed streams that swallowed tires whole. Their noble chariots, oh, how they sputtered and groaned, endured breakage and repairs, only to break once more. But still these bold souls pressed on, laughing in the face of common sense and cheering as they fixed what should not have been broken again. For though their quest seemed foolish to the untrained eye, in truth, it was a test of grit, of brotherhood, and the unyielding belief that, with enough talk, even the most stubborn obstacles can be overcome. And so on they went, their wheels spinning, their trucks grinding, and their spirits soaring higher than the hills themselves. For in the end, these muddy fools knew one simple truth. In the world of off-roading, that once upon a
All right, so it's a little glitchy, but hopefully you guys saw that. So let me welcome to the show our band of merry idiots here. Mr. Zach Johnson, Mr. Jason Bush, and the man himself, Grinder Mike.
Grinder Mike Johnson.
Grinder Mike Johnson. What's up, boys?
How you doing, Davey?
Good.
Everybody.
So, it's been a week since our adventure, if we're going to call it that. How's the recovery going? Both for the vehicles and for the participants.
I drove mine home.
Well, I drove mine home too, but it hasn't left the driveway since it got home. Yeah.
No, it's going out. I made a few beer runs.
Good.
Ginger came off the trailer and got a pressure washing and got parked in the backyard, so there is no telling. I got the window to roll up. My recovery's been a little slower because I came back from Mardi Krawl and left immediately for a week-long work trip, and ain't no party like a NASA work trip party. And so I'm trying to unpickle myself at this point.
Understood.
Yeah, not too bad for me. I was driving mine earlier today. A few new noises, but other than that, I still have a tent that's laid out in the storage unit, attempting to dry. But
yeah, it takes a minute to get all that stuff dry, and then you think it's dry, and yeah. So mine is mine got maybe a little more damp than your all's did. So it's the interior is gutted, with the exception of the driver's seat, and carpet's all dried out. And I thought I was ready to start putting things back together, but then it started having these electrical gremlins, and I chased my tail. I was texting with Zach, and we were checking different things, and then I got my winch unspooled, which my winch had seized up on that last trail that we ran, and I put a pry bar on the free spool handle, and it popped and finally gave. And so then I unspooled the winch line, and I was spooling it back in, and the winch shut down, just dead, no power. And I thought, well, that's weird. And as I walked back up to the truck, I noticed the truck was at a really low idle. And I said, oh, I know what this is. And so I put the voltmeter on it, and it's 11.5, 11.4, 11.3. Yeah, here we go. So I think everything traced back to that alternator. I can't imagine what happened to that alternator. It's like it got full of muck or something. But
I'm pretty sure I saw a picture with water like halfway up the doors, if not further than that.
Yeah. So the yeah, we'll try to get that alternator in this week.
Did you hear the irony of that situation, Davey? We were at the top when all that shenanigans was going down at the bottom of the hill. I was talking to Danny Ponton and was like, "Hey, man, there's a bypass down there, but I sure hope Zach tells them when they take that bypass about the big mud hole at the bottom, because we took that bypass the last time we were here, and Camo almost got sunk down there."
Yeah, I heard it's affectionately referred to as the swamp. At that pit down there. So yeah, Zach denies ever having been on that trail before.
There's good reason for that.
Plausible deniability. That's right.
Yeah. But yeah, all right. Well, we'll get to that. So for you guys that are like, what are they talking about? What was that video all about? So we were at Mardi Krawl this past weekend, which is an event put on by the Louisiana Land Krewesers, a TLCA chapter. But the event actually happens in Hawk Pride OHV, which is an hour west of Huntsville, Alabama, where these guys are based, Heart of the South Cruisers. And the conditions were, from what I've been told, this was my first time at the park. So, I don't really have anything to gauge it against. But you guys have been there several times. How does this compare to other times at that park?
It's been dry, but it was less than ideal. But it's totally normal too.
We've
less
seen it
than
that
ideal,
way
but totally normal.
We've seen it that way before. I mean, dealing with those conditions was not new to us. We've been there like that before, but it's been dry quite a few of the last handful of trips we've been there. Like, we haven't seen it that wet in a few years.
The thing about that park is you have to go to get to the trailheads. You have to go down. There's two ways down primarily, and then to get out, you've got to come back out. And that's even for the greens, even for the easy trails. So
you got to go down the hill that's affectionately known as Big Hill.
Yes, that's its official title. Yeah.
Yes.
And if it was dry, I mean, you could, with enough speed, you could get a 2-wheel drive truck up that. But the open and the A-track vehicles, they had their work cut out for them. Just getting down and back up from the trailheads. So let me pull this footage up here. All right. So we're going to try to walk through some photos and videos and just kind of walk you guys through the shenanigans of the weekend. And hopefully this doesn't bog down too much and all these play out all right. So we got there on Thursday. Well, Zach came in on Friday, but we were there on Thursday. Our first ride was on Thursday. We went and we rode a trail called Jester, and then we rode Bush. Where'd you were leading? We went to Jester. We went to Diamond something.
We went Jester. We went Diamondback, and then we looped around to hit Merlin.
Merlin. Okay, so that's where I want to pick up the story. So to that point.
And they all start, and Davey also, let's just go ahead and lay that out there. They all start with this is just a quick run. We're just going to do a quick little loop. We're going to take the bypass, quick little run.
Just getting your feet wet.
Just get our feet wet.
Yes. And to that point, it had just been good, pretty laid back East Coast wheeling. I mean, it was messy, but it was nothing I wouldn't put the 200 through. And she had gone through without any body damage. We rolled up Jester. Nobody pulled cable, no problem. But then we started down Merlin, and let me pull this clip up here. I want you guys to listen to this clip. Did you hear that?
Oh yeah, I think I broke a drop shaft because I mean Ginger.
I think I broke a drive shaft. Yeah.
Yeah, Ginger's a drop shaft eater.
So that's Bush up front, and then Mike, and I'm behind him there, and just going around this little bend. And Bush, don't we all wish it could have just been a drive shaft?
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
It was a shaft, but
well, and I think important to note too. You could tell the way he's at. We're literally trying to take the first out of Merlin. Like we're literally just trying to do an in and out. Not going to tear anything up, and here we are.
Well, I think that's what he promised, right? We're just going to dip our toes in Merlin, just take the first out, and yeah,
just the first little D ledge, and then pop right out.
Yeah. So you broke an axle shaft, Bush.
So yeah, it wasn't the drop shaft.
No, we got it out, got it winched out, got back to camp, and here's a picture.
It was angry.
And this is on the driver's side, and it's about 2 inches deep, the brake inside the axle tube.
Yeah, roughly. Yeah.
So you couldn't.
Cap was still attached. Notice all the studs are there. The cap was still attached. You couldn't tell. You couldn't tell anything other than the noise.
The noise all the way back to camp.
Well, we had to get back somehow, right? We had to drive it back, and so I mean, we had to do some light clearancing in order to make it get back.
So we got back, and you thought, hey, I've got a spare, no problem. I'll just change that shaft out. Here you are, starting to buzz it out. Actually, this is on the. Now you're on the passenger side.
That's the other side because at this point it wasn't moving.
So the idea was to knock it through from the passenger side.
Well, let's just start. We popped the cap off, and the shaft would wiggle a little bit, and so we thought, oh man, we just got to get it, and we tried every tool, pick, screwdriver we had to get it to move. And also, if you'll notice in the picture before the little video you showed, we got a makeshift tarp set up that I drug out because it was pouring down rain. It wasn't just drizzling; it was pouring down at that point.
Yes, and it should be noted that for the next what seemed like 2 hours that we worked on this, we never bothered to properly set the tarp up. It was always somebody's job to hold the pole rather than us.
Always this close to getting it done.
Yeah,
we were always that close to being done. That's exactly right, Zach. That close. Yeah.
Yeah. So the idea came up that we could knock it out from the other side. So somebody had a piece of metal, like angle iron or something, and Elliot went over to make a special service tool.
Yeah, after grinder Mike saved the day and busted out the grinder.
Yeah, you're welcome for the grinder.
You need like 8 inches, and don't say that's what she said.
Yeah, no luck.
So
That wins. Did that move it? Do it again.
So we think it's in position, and then here you are hammering it in, Bush.
I mean, because there's nothing better than a bigger hammer. Then it was stuck.
All right. So at some point, the idea was conceived to try to weld something to that stub and yank it out from the driver's side. So this was, I believe, version 1 of our attempt at that. I'm not sure exactly what that is. I mean, this, looks like a carriage bolt and just
it was the end. It was the end of the special service tool that we chopped off.
Okay, I see.
And then a carriage bolt to that.
Now, Bush, what you don't know is while this was going down, I was on the group chat, and we had a poll going for if this was going to be successful, if this was going to hold or not, and the odds were not in your favor.
And it didn't.
So,
it didn't hold the first time. Which really, when we get to the final solution, blows my mind that the final solution worked, because that additional solution, we just put a set of vice grips and a hammer on it, and it just popped right off. Like, it didn't last any time.
So Sean from Louisiana showed up and had this little Harbor Freight Titanium 90, and the original goal. Let me see if may not have a picture of it, but he had a generator, and that generator would not start. So then it was a question of how to power the welder. And Bush was in a pop-up camper that was parked right next to this, which had hookups. So you just open the door and nicely ask your lovely wife to unplug the AC and plug this extension cord in, go into the welder.
That's exactly right. It's the only 20 amp plug there is in the camper, so we were rolling the dice.
Yeah. So this was version 2 of the retrieval device, and let me show you guys how it's rigged up. I've got 2 angles of this, so I didn't realize, but Mike had got this video. So this is before the pull, so you can see this winch line is hooked, and it goes over to Elliot's 40.
Notice that the winch line actually runs under the camper bed.
Yeah.
Oh, I just caught that. There's the non-working generator.
Yeah.
And we told Julie to sit in the other end of the camper.
So nice. So considerate.
And here's our buddy Chad King, who's a phenomenal photographer. He can't even photograph this. He knows it's going to go south. So, yeah. So we've got it hooked up and braced against the tree there. Now, what you don't see is on the other side of the truck is Danny's 80 series is the counterbalance to this equation. And I think we had it hooked to we had Danny's hooked to your slider.
To the slider, that's right.
Yeah.
Well, we did an initial pull, and at this point, Ginger is on a bottle jack and a jack stand, which is sinking into the mud. So, we tried for the safety, but the jack stand's obviously just sinking into the mud. And when Elliot first made the pull, the truck just started just leaning over, like it was just going. I mean, it was in a bad way. We stopped. And we got Danny to hook up. And actually, we were smart about this one, because when we hooked Danny's truck up, we got him to preload the truck the other way.
Right.
A little bit. So when the whistle came, it would just straighten out.
We've got a couple of people in the chat now. So Tim Whitaker says, "Is that OSHA approved?" I don't think Hawk Pride has any OSHA approvals, Tim. And then Melanie Stevens, hi Melanie, she says that when they got home, that generator cranked right up. So
I don't believe it.
Yeah, there you go. All right, so let me guys show you the money shot here.
Hey!
Now that may not look like much to folks on video, but after 2 hours, that was fabulous.
That was a lotto ticket hit.
Well, at that point, it's also a weekend saver for Bush.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
The alternative at that point was not good.
Well,
Yeah.
the funny thing that we didn't notice until about a minute later is it's hard to see. I can't zoom in, but this bottle jack that it's sitting on, there's a floor jack there too, but it's really primarily resting on the bottle jack, and the bottle jack has shifted about 15 degrees. So then we had to bump it with Danny's truck to set it back into place.
I mean, safety third, right?
That's right.
I love the way, my favorite thing about that video is that when it does pull out, that video was in real time, but it almost looks like the shaft's coming out in slow motion.
Yes.
Like, it's so crazy, like how that
And
came out.
if you're
like,
wondering, well, why would that shaft not give? There's your picture.
winner chicken dinner.
Now
Now that didn't happen. Now that's also, let's just go. I mean, like that didn't happen. That was already like that, and so that's on me for not doing my preventative maintenance like I should be doing, and taking my axles apart and checking them for twists, because that was already like that. Guaranteed.
And Bush, you had two spares, right? You went ahead and changed both sides because the other side was boogered too.
The other side was boogered too. I went ahead and put both in. Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So,
but that was a weekend saver, because it was done with. And if I hadn't changed them out, it could have been even worse out on the trail later. So it was good to get them changed out.
And the rest of us that drive 80 series that don't carry an entire parts truck are like, well, there went our spare parts for the weekend.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly.
Yeah. Yeah,
you're going to learn from this one, and you're going to get your alongside machine down so that you don't have this problem next time, right?
Bingo.
Yeah, that's funny. You mentioned the parts truck, Mike, because you guys, I don't know how many people are running that 37-inch tire with that same wheel, and so the decision was made. Who took the spare? There was only one spare in the group.
Bush had the spare.
Bush had the spare. Yeah. Because why should everybody carry a spare?
One spare fit like 5 trucks.
Yeah.
And we'll find out later that we almost needed it.
Yeah.
Right.
Yes, we'll find out later that we almost needed it. That's right. That's right. I'm not sure if I'd let you put my spare on those studs.
So let's I think that's the next day. So after that we all kind of chilled, and I think we ate dinner, and then we went back out for a night ride, because only good things happen on night rides.
Absolutely.
We all know that. Yeah. And we went out. Well, there's a timestamp on this. So this was at 8:35 p.m. And I don't have all the footage. We didn't take a lot of good footage on that night ride, surprisingly. Maybe because I think we were pulling cable, for myself anyway, about half the time. But do you remember which trails we were on, Bush?
We went and did, I feel like we went and did Cane Creek, did the waterfall. Not everybody did the waterfall.
I did not.
We did the waterfall. We looped around, did the bottom side of Brokefoot. No, we did Cane Creek and did the waterfall. And before we got to the bottom side of Brokefoot, my steering box fell off.
That's correct. And so let me pull this up.
Well, my steering box didn't fall off. It broke the sector shaft. So
so I was
just a little bit deeper than I thought it was.
Just to kind of keep like the rain.
I was following Bush. Let me fast forward here. We go around this turn.
One of the fixes we did in Zach's truck, Zach's 4Runner.
And in a second, you'll see a puff of what appears to be smoke right there.
The big hit.
Let me see if I can pause that. Can you guys? I don't know if that's showing up on the video or not, but Tone's riding with me, and he says, "That's a cloud of smoke."
The best part is when he just kind of drifts off onto the side.
Yeah, it just like goes to the side.
Yeah, I hit that hole, and the truck started drifting, and I started spinning the steering wheel, and it just kept on spinning. And I was like, "This isn't good. This is no good."
But that didn't kill the party. That did not kill the night ride.
I mean, I'll be honest, Davey, that was the fastest decision that we probably made all weekend. I got out, I pulled the flashlight out, I looked. I mean, you got a picture of somewhere in here, maybe you do. The tie rod was laying on the ground, the drag link was laying on the ground. I looked up, and it was missing from the steering box. And you can see one of the lower pictures here.
Yeah, these pictures are from the next day, but let me show you guys what was there.
We had Elliot and Brian in the back, and I was like, grab the beer, and I had the truck locked. By the time the rest of the crew pulled up, we were out standing on the side of the trail with a cooler saying, "Who's got seats?"
Just abandoned it.
Just left it.
But you can do it at that park. I think that's a big part that you could be safe doing that. I mean,
yes.
Right. Yeah, obviously. I mean, that's 90% of the time. What you do not want to do is abandon your vehicle on a trail overnight and hope that it's all there in the morning. But in this case, it would take somebody as special as we were to decide to venture out down there and find it. So this was the next day. Let me go ahead and just pull this up.
Well, also the park's closed, right? I mean, we've rented. I mean, Mardi Krawl rents the park out, so it's just us. I mean, 95% of the people there, and so like there's a whole lot of reasons why, what makes this event special, right? There's a whole lot of reasons why this event's special, and it's awesome that somebody breaks down. You're always 15 minutes from camp, and you can just leave it out there and come back when it's not raining so hard and not so dark to fix it. Or come back after you call Zach, because we went to the top of the trail and Davies was winching up a hill, and while they were doing that, I went out and found the high spot and called Zach and Rory. Was like, "Hey, can y'all bring me a steering box?" Like 15 minutes later.
Yeah, Zach, I think your parts list kept growing over that 12-hour period on Thursday.
Yeah, it grew a fair bit, but everybody got their stuff, and it turned out well.
And it's just a fact of the matter, whether it's Mardi Krawl or VDR, if you're not showing up until Friday, it's a good chance you're bringing parts. That's just kind of the way it works.
No, it's going to happen. Like it has, between those two events in the last 4 years, nobody has come in empty-handed on Friday.
Yeah. Well, but Bush, you had a good point, and for folks that have not been to Hawk Pride before, it really is. You're always 15 minutes from camp, or thereabouts, compared to or less even. It's just the way it's laid out. I don't know how many acres they have. I should know that, but
1,000 acres.
Okay, but it's a very unique the way it's laid out in this kind of where camp is central to everything, compared to Windrock or a bigger park where there's highway involved and it's an hour ride just to get back to camp for the day. So that's pretty cool. You can come in, you can literally go out, ride for a couple hours, come back to camp. And when I say camp, they've got primitive camping, they've got some cabins, they've got a pavilion and stuff there. Make lunch, hang out for a little bit, hit the bathhouse, go back out. You can do that 2 or 3 times throughout the day, and it doesn't feel like it cost you any time.
No, it's full as rotten.
Yeah, having said that, I feel like it's important to note where Bush's truck goes down right here very well might be the farthest you can possibly get away from this park.
It is. But we've dragged it back to the top dead from out that spot too.
So this is on, let me get my days right. So this is on Friday now, when you guys had gone to recover it. I was not on this recovery mission. I was riding with some other guys. But my favorite part of these pictures is Danny just sitting in his chair, just watching the show while you guys are fixing the truck.
Yeah, there's like 2 more guys out of frame, but I walked up and joined them.
I wish I had a video. At one point, Danny and I think Danny's friend's name was Mike.
Michael. Yep.
They're sitting there watching, and at one point, Chris turns around and says, "Hey, do you guys mind turning the music down? We're having a hard time hearing over here." They're having like a 90s country concert. I was just watching the repairs.
I think Danny just turned it up too.
But it was also pretty good. Like this whole adventure, getting down here to work on the truck. A handful of us, we knew Zach and Rory, who I think Rory brought the box, and Zach and Rory were pretty close to each other as far as coming in with truckloads of parts. We knew they were about an hour away, and you never know. I don't know that I've ever had the steering box off in my 80, and you never know how hard it's going to be to get some of that stuff apart, right? So So we went down early to try to pull, to just make sure we had time to work on it and get it all apart in case it was going to be struggles and figure out where the struggles were. And I mean, we had the steering box off in like 15 minutes. So we just sat down there and drank beer for like an hour and a half waiting on them to get there. But another beauty of the park is we go here enough that it was like, hey, we're down here between this trail and this trail. We'll be waiting on you. And, there was no qualms. And we were close enough to 2 other trails that at one point there were only 3 trucks down there because everybody else went and rode the other trails that were in proximity to where we were stopped and just did a loop on those trails while we were waiting on people to get there.
Yeah, that's a good point. So once you're down in that bottom, kind of on the main trail, the cell signal is pretty much non-existent, but your GMRS will work throughout the park. Yeah. So communication was open. Yeah. All right.
Yeah, so we had it back on, and we were on Brokefoot in record time.
And so for the people that haven't been there before and don't know, Brokefoot is there. It's a fun little spot. It's mostly big stuff, bigger rocks. It's kind of a gatekeeper trail of sorts. If you can run it, you can run most of the blacks and reds in the place. So bottom to the bottom, run it, have fun. It's kind of a pick your own adventure exit type thing, but it's mostly rocks. So it's not the big muddy mess.
Except when it is.
Except when you drag it all in from Clean Creek.
Yeah. So while you guys were taking care of that, I'd gone out with Andy and Ashley and Roger and some folks, and we found this gentleman in his GX that was in a little bit of a pickle. And so I think they had just gotten to the event and they were eager to get on the trails. And so they'd gone out by themselves. It was him and his wife in there. And this is how easy it happens. I think I'd have to look at the map, but I'm pretty sure this is a green trail. But you're coming down a nasty, muddy downhill, and it just kind of puts you where it wants to put you. And luckily, it was just on its side in this ditch. But we came by and found him, and Roger got to put the 40 to work here and get him winched out.
Now that I see this corner, this isn't the first time we've seen somebody have this problem down there.
I know. I'm trying to see when the video comes out to figure out where this is.
This is where that Chevy was that we pulled him out when he got bogged up.
Oh, this is way. Oh yeah. Oh yeah. They made a mistake going back there. They should put a sign across the road. 44s only.
So, yeah, so we got this guy out of there, and I thought for sure that the whole side of that GX was just going to be destroyed. But that mud was so soft that, it had some scratches, but the body was still straight. It didn't even take the mirror off. The mirror drug through the mud.
If you go back to the picture, David, you could look at the tracks where they slid in and see how soupy it is. Look at that track, just behind the passenger rear tire. Just the slipperiness. It's pretty evident from the picture to me, anyway.
Yeah, it's worth mentioning. There's a bunch of greens out there so that everybody can have a good time. But when that place gets wet, everything's a big blue at the lightest because that's going to happen somewhere.
Yep.
Ridge says in the comments here, that's the road that runs parallel to the ditch trail.
Okay. Yeah.
All right. So, so there was kind of, they had a guided ride. Let me say that the Louisiana Club had a guided ride, I believe, each morning that was kind of supposed to be an easier, just, very newbie friendly kind of ride. But this weekend, everything was a little more challenging. And so they welcome any vehicle to the event, not just Toyotas. And one of the vehicles that showed up was the Cybertruck. And so there was a lot of buzz about this. And there's some pictures. I don't think I have them here. I do have some video we're going to look at. But this thing is heavy, really heavy. And all that traction control, I'm not sure what it's built for, but it is not built for Alabama mud.
And he was on HTs.
Yeah, he was on ATs.
Yeah. So they had a winch fest getting this Cybertruck back out, and there's some footage. I forgot to load those pictures in here of our buddy Ryan Emerson in his FJ40 winching this Cybertruck out. And so we put that out on the Facebook page. And the funny thing is that footage, it did like footage does on the internet, and it made its way to Reddit. And then the story kind of gets changed when it gets to Reddit. And somehow on Reddit, it was listed that it happened in Honduras. And so the Honduras national news has that footage. You can Google it right now. Honduras stuck Cybertruck. And it's Ryan pulling this Cybertruck out in Hawk Pride, Alabama. But they thought it happened in Honduras because apparently there's only like two Cybertrucks in the whole country, so they thought it was one of them. But it's funny. I thought I had. Oh, here's the video that Braswell got of the two buggies pulling it back up the hill.
That is just great.
When we came by, you know, when they were stuck down the bottom of the hill, and we were on our way to work on Bush's truck. You know, we got kind of a firsthand view. We sat there for a minute while they were pulling on it and trying to get it up the hill. You could definitely tell how the system tends to outsmart itself a little bit. You know, as we know, and that kind of sloppy stuff throttles your friend, whether it's cleaning out tires or just getting momentum. And it sounded like they were having a hard time just keeping the throttle up. You know, you get push your foot to the floor, and the truck was like, "Oh, this is a bad idea," so it just stops you and prevents you from, you know, doing what you need to do.
So you're saying Toyota's A-Track, which was invented 25 years ago, was outperforming the Cybertruck?
Right, maybe something to that.
Yeah, A-Track's a beautiful system.
Agreed.
All right, let me get on through these here. We're still on Friday. Just got some pictures I want to show. Here's our buddy Ray's 40. Excuse me. And then there was this LX570, which is a little bit different.
Yeah, she's a little long.
Little bit long. I didn't get to speak to this gentleman. I was trying to catch him all weekend, but apparently he's a regular at the event. Apparently it's been there a few times.
Yeah, it was there last year.
Yeah,
it's like stretched 4 feet.
Yep.
The funny thing is when you see it from the front, it looks normal, and then you come around the corner, and there you go. Also at this event, our good friend Roger, who has this toy hauler / camper. I don't know how long that thing is, guys. I mean, it's got 3 axles under it. It's huge, and he managed to somehow twist one of those axles coming into camp, and so they pulled the axle out. And Roger was like, well, I'll just run down the road because they make these axles. Dexter, I think the company, makes these axles down the road. So I can go down there and get a replacement, and we'll just put the replacement back in. Apparently, when he got down there, they hadn't made those axles in Alabama in the last 20 years. So, he'd already pulled it out. So this was the damaged axle going back in. And man, that thing was heavy.
Yeah, I missed all those shenanigans. I think we were spending too much time got stuck out on the trail.
You guys were out. We had a lot of help from our friends from Birmingham on this one. Holton and the guys that jumped under Ashton. Yeah, Ashton jumped under there to to wrangle that thing back in.
Just goes to show you, at a muddy Hawk Pride, even the parking lot's not safe.
Boy, isn't that the truth?
Yeah.
I mean, there were people coming to dinner, and it would rain so much during dinner that then they'd be spinning tires trying to get back out from where they parked, just at the pavilion. Yeah. Somebody said in the comments, par for the course too, said that's Cody's Leximo.
The Leximo.
The Leximo. So, Cody, if you see this, I'd love to talk to you about the Leximo. We need to do a reader's ride, a walk around on that, and let folks see it.
I still think you need some of those big Australian tow mirrors on your truck.
Oh, on mine?
Yeah.
As if it's not wide enough on the
Right.
trail. I need those mirrors. I will say that these trails were, so I came out with a busted fender, but they're doable. And I'd run that trail the same day or the day before it got as wet without any body damage. And then it caught me the second day. So, there's spots that are narrow, but they're not too narrow. This is not buggy only territory. I mean, you may get body damage, especially if it's a little wet, but you can run a full size rig here.
Yeah, I mean, you catch it on a normal water content kind of place. You're not going to run into anything like what you saw. There's actually it picks up a ton of traction when some of that dust starts to dry out.
But it will, as soon as you get comfortable with it, and I think a great example that we get down, to show Roy's truck, and that was, on Jester when he busted his door in, we had sent probably 10 trucks through that trail at least 3 times within a couple hours. And then, one person just kind of unlucky hit,
So let me move on down these pictures. Which trail is this? Do you guys recognize it?
So this Davey is middle Brokefoot after we fixed Ginger, and we all just kind of pressed on and jumped right on Brokefoot. And I'm gonna be honest, the whole weekend was great, but there was about a 3-hour period, maybe 2-hour period where we're trying to get about, 6-8 trucks up this little section of this trail, and the bottom's fun, and you kind of break through the little gatekeeper, and this is the middle, and behind that guy in the green shirt, you see kind of the shark fin rock. That's the next gatekeeper to get to the next section, and we were all just trying to take the out. And I had more fun in this little 2-hour period, like all of us just cutting up and talking trash and throwing beer cans at each other and throwing ducks at each other. I don't know where the rubber duckies came from, but rubber duckies came from. We were just like throwing rubber duckies at each other and sticking them on the truck. But this was the most fun I had. I had a lot of fun all weekend, but that was kind of a highlight. That little, there's always the great spot, but that 2 hours that we spent right there trying to just finagle all those trucks through, and it was nasty, and everybody just fighting their way through that merry band of idiots. This was a good time.
Well, here's Zach trying to fight his way through.
Because in a normal visit, this is like 20 seconds. It's technically, but it's not hard. And yeah, when it's covered up in this stuff, this begins to happen.
And I don't know what, I can't remember how many people went before Zach. I went up first, and I can't remember who was behind me, but it just I could tell we were the first people that had been on middle Brokefoot all weekend. And every truck that went up, it just got worse and worse and
it
worse.
got slicker and slicker. Sure. And this is the part. Let me pause this.
And somehow or another, Camo still white smokes the tires in soup.
That's what I was going to say. That I'm going to pause this because we've got some good footage coming up here. But this is the thing that people do not understand about the East Coast. That, it looks like just a little rock garden. I could drive anything through that. But look at the mud caked on the side of Zach's truck. That stuff is an inch thick.
It
fell off.
You could make house bricks with it.
Yes.
And they do.
It's just everywhere. And if you try to step out and go walk, I mean, everybody's busting their ass. I mean, you step off out of the truck onto a rock and you're gone.
It's over.
Yeah.
I think you actually took a spill, didn't you?
Yeah, I took a couple. Yeah. I don't think we have footage of that. Yeah.
That's unfortunate. At some point, violence happens and we win, but I don't know.
I think you end up going high left here. There you go.
The bad part is, we'll drive up some of this in 2, maybe 3-wheel drive. Nothing happened on that trail at any point during the day that wasn't everything locked up all the time.
Agreed.
Here's the other side of that. I'll fast forward this. Maybe I will. There it goes.
And you're talking about difference between east and west there. I mean, that truck's on 6 pounds of air and it still can't grab. But when you take it out west, you put it in some of that stuff in the middle of the country. It's like driving on pavement. No.
Fucking A! Yeah!
But it's fun to do that.
And what's great about those, it's almost should be a Yokohama commercial. I mean, we were talking the other weekend, like how many miles you had on those tires and how many times you've done that, and they still look pretty good.
I mean, they wear really well. They're just still an MT, so they're softening up. I mean, they're showing their age, but they do really well for highway use and for taking this.
Hey, that and a little over our sidetrack guy, those bead locks. I mean, all of us are running the sidetrack bead locks, and we beat on those things, and they just keep taking it. Sidetracks and the Yokohamas are a winning combination in this group.
I'm pretty sure you make it over this at the end, Zach.
There's a power brake and violence, and then it jumps.
They'll eventually get there.
You can hear all the expert spotters in the background.
It's not even the most violent hit the truck's ever taken, not even close.
That's it.
There it goes. That easy.
I just got to find the right line. Oh, there's Grinder Mike right there.
Yeah.
That might be the only photograph from the weekend I wasn't wearing a rain jacket.
I gave up on mine.
It was the only moment it's not raining for more than an hour.
Yeah, to Bush's point, that was maybe what made that trail so fun. That's probably the only trail we did where all weekend where it didn't rain the entire time we were on the trail.
True. It kind of stopped raining, and we just got to play in the mud for a little while, and it was a good day. This is Elliot's first cut at throwing the front drive shaft out. First cut of 3.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah. Front tires, no pulley.
And for everybody that's probably wondering why we keep falling in that hole, it's because if you try to go to the top, it just throws you in the hole.
Yeah, the hole was the only way out.
Yeah, here's
They had the rubber boots that actually kept them on their feet. They didn't just get sucked into the hole.
Yeah, there's the drive shaft.
There's the drive shaft. See if I can get the sound to stop.
And he struggles with that because he's got shackle reversal and some really long, soft front springs. They just all kind of movement.
Which makes that thing a beast most of the times, unless he totally unloads it.
And
then Chris shows us a different way.
Yeah. So Zach, you were on the left. He went far right.
Yeah, he went the way that we normally go to drive the trail, which is, I mean, it's a really good, fun route. And he just said I could still do it anyway and just get out of my way.
Also, the difference between 40s and 37s.
Yeah.
Come on. Sometimes I don't know, it's pretty good. So, I think you're back.
I think he goes here.
Come on up, Chris.
It only took him about 15, 20 seconds to get it once he started moving.
There he goes. Yeah.
Yeah, because he never let off the gas.
I really was excited. That was the first trip that truck's made out in, 4 runs?
Yep.
But it hasn't fragged something. No G-Smitter. It made it through G-Smitter.
Come on.
Well, we've got footage here. This may be the best footage of that truck from the weekend.
Yeah, I feel like this is go time right here.
Yeah.
Yep.
And if you watch real closely toward the end, when he gets in the trail, he's almost out of camera shot. He gets airborne.
Yeah! Woo!
Right about here. There he goes.
That's funny.
And he has to drive that way because he's on 40s, but he's still stock 2F with way too little gearing, so he's just getting it all with inertia.
Yeah, 456 gears ain't getting him there.
Not even a little bit.
I'm going to skip ahead a couple here, and
we kept on with some grinder mic work.
This is definite grinder mic action.
So Mike, I got a question because I didn't ask this. When you bolted the tires on at the shop, I wasn't watching it. Did you torque?
No, you were there. Yeah. No, not only were you there,
so
you know what I'm saying?
not only were you there, you heard it go click, 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 click. But when
So
you
Mike
have
had just
in this scenario, you have people standing around asking the question, then you start second guessing yourself. Now, wait a second.
yeah. You had just you hadn't had these wheels for what, a week, Mike?
Yeah, so we mounted them.
They weren't on the truck 48 hours.
Yeah, no, we mounted them a week before, but I mean, it, got driven around a little bit, and then obviously drove it to Hawk Pride from Huntsville. But and I knew that hole. There's what's not in the pictures. There's a hole kind of further back, and I hit that hole, and I felt the nose of the truck just kind of drop, and I'm like, oh, I'm in the hole. But the truck, I keep driving, the truck never comes back up. And I wish I had a recording of Bob on the radio. I think Bob was behind me, Bob Pickle. He's like, oh, I think he lost something. I stop, look out, there's no wheel. And I'm like looking around, can't find the wheel. Well, when I get out of the truck, and you don't see it in the shot here, because it's about 20, 30 yards back. That's how far I made it on 3 wheels, which,
it was slick. It just slid right across the top.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, no rocks or anything, thankfully. Yeah, so we got it bolted back on, and I drove it home. Well, it's still on call it 3.5 studs. Four studs. 4 studs, a little questionable, but I stopped probably 3 times between Hawk Pride in Huntsville and just like gave it a check. And even since, I mean, none of them have backed off even a hair. So
You've got to stop and change those things.
well, and so ironically, those are all the studs that were changed the last wrench day we had, because I put a new brake caliper on it, but all new studs on that corner only. So go figure.
Go figure.
They're about to get all new studs again. So
Yeah, press them in this time. I don't know if you pulled them in or pressed them last time.
but again, shout out to Sidetrack Wheels. I mean, the wheel took it, no damage whatsoever. So
Yeah. Speaking of sidetracked, listen, us 100, 200 Tundra guys, we need a 5x150 in a decent positive offset. So if you want to make a run, we can get a group buy order together. Just let us know, because they're impressive. The value, I mean, for what you guys paid for those and the abuse that I've seen them take, it's really impressive. All right. Well, let's.
Mike, you actually wheeled a whole nother day on on those 3 lug studs before you drove it home, because this was on Friday.
yeah,
Yes, that was Friday. So this is Saturday morning, and I don't know how this happened, but Saturday morning we ended up with 18 trucks lined up to roll out. I'll play you this
how many
clip.
trails, Bush? 4, 5?
Oh, he tells you here, Zach. Yeah.
Oh yeah, Davey did a quick interview with me.
Yeah. I'm going to pause here. Something that viewers may notice is the guys that have been to this park a few times before, they don't have their taillights in.
None of us.
Yeah.
Nobody.
Most of the 80s and the 60s have pulled their taillights to save those dollars.
Jason Bud.
What's up, buddy?
How many we got?
18 trucks.
Where we heading?
It's gonna be a shit show. We're going to Lucky's, Jester, Merlin, with some bypasses, Maverick if everybody wants to. Fill both roads. Half of these trucks won't make it to fill both roads.
And we've got open 80s with no protection, right?
We have open 80s. We have a 40 on 31s with only a rear locker. We have 2 IFS 4Runners. It's gonna be a party.
All right.
I think I said it right there that half the trucks wouldn't make it through all of it.
That was
accurate, because we made it through it. It's just the list got trimmed down a wee bit.
I mean, it was excuse my language, Davey, but we said when we were sitting around talking about going on a ride, we were like, this is going to be a total shit show.
Oh,
And
that was a given.
We knew it was coming.
This is going down Big Hill. It's kind of ominous when you crest that first cap down into Big Hill. It's like you're committing to the day. And so we had a group of 18, including Zach and his 4Runner here, and a couple of other young guys, high school seniors. Anderson was out there in his 80, made its debut. And boy, you talk about trial by fire. This was a good day. I know they had a blast, and I'm glad they were with us. It couldn't have been a better group to really get out there and experience it with.
So I'll throw this out there too. Cresting that hill that morning, on Saturday morning, not only having bolted my wheel back on the night before, that was the first little test run after having to replace a rear brake line. So great place to test the brakes out going down Big Hill.
So we got down.
You're better off just putting in low range and not using brakes on Big Hill.
Not everybody's got that low.
Yeah. So we got down Big Hill and we made our way to a trail called Lucky's that we had run the night before or 2 nights before. I don't remember. I remember spending a lot of time winch to the back of Grinder Mike coming up Lucky's that night. But I'd made it up. And yeah, so there's this first, if it was dry, I don't know how much of an obstacle it would be. This first kind of obstacle.
It isn't. You drive to the outside, you drive up, and you carry on.
Yeah, on Lucky's. And here's our buddy Chad King again in his taco. But this obstacle just proved to be a challenge. And we spent, I don't know, a couple of hours here before everybody was through it and or turned around.
At least.
Yeah.
We go 3+. I mean, it was a long time.
So I'll try to just show the highlights here. Here's Danny hitting it.
And at this point, Danny had 3-point turn and backed halfway down the bypass to get a different shot at it.
Yes. Yeah. Danny defined the new line.
That's right.
Yeah, I think Danny and Bradley probably had the most violent / they had the funnest route up.
Yeah, I got Bradley's footage. Bradley's is really good.
I mean, just soup.
It's a shame
as usual. I mean,
because the exhaust noises coming through that second half were wonderful.
Yeah, unfortunately, when you stream this, it really compresses the audio from these video clips, so you don't get the whole experience. Here's Mike.
After watching Danny, and you're just like, well, you just got to stand on it.
Yeah, people give me crap for driving a lot of throttle. Danny's way more.
Now we're into Danny's position. Yeah, I've watched this video a couple times. I definitely didn't do.
You mean when you hit this? When you hit that tree right there?
When you teed off on the oak tree over there.
Well, even before that, because and that's the thing about an 80. People that have driven an 80 know, like, you can't see anything out in front of you. Rory's telling me to go passenger. I start going. I'm like, well, I'm going left, and that was my rear diff that took the brunt of that.
It was still a pretty nice road at this point.
Yes.
Yeah, it continued to get worse.
And here's, it gets worse. Here comes Bradley, and let me fast forward it here to where he finally gets lined up.
I mean, volume up for this one, people online.
You can get in that notch and turn up. Hope that thing doesn't push you too far driving.
And let me, before I play this, for those watching, Bradley will amaze you in this little 4Runner. It's on, what are these, 33? 33s?
Yep.
He can drive the snot out of that little third gen.
Yes, he can.
Yes, sir. Yeah.
He's even got his taillights in.
I think the baby was out at this point.
The baby was
Yes.
Baby's not in the truck. Baby's up the trail with mom's hands.
Yeah.
Those crunches were so loud.
Hell yeah!
Yeah. That was a good run. Then we got Robert. This was all about consistency. He tried to get over that first bump about 5 times, and he'd get right here.
Yeah, I get fearful for him and this kind of stuff because I keep getting trapped that back axle.
Yeah, it was just so slick.
Everybody's looking for guidance and nobody has a clue. It's just.
I mean, it really was just get lined up and put your foot to the floor and see what happens.
And nobody saw that. It just worked.
So then Rory took the inside line here.
I didn't see Rory come up.
Yeah.
At this point, we had so many trucks up, we had to move so far up the trail that it was impossible because it was so slick to walk back down. And so we just hung out at the top.
I still can't believe you got over this because the what you can't see in the video is his passenger rear is sitting on top of or butting up against all of these little tree roots of that small little grove you see behind his truck, and they're all ripped. They're just as slick as you can imagine. Now they're all mud caked. No idea how that actually grabbed.
So I tried that same line that Rory was on and did not have any success.
Well, you weigh a little bit more.
Hang on. That's it. Straighten them up. Passenger. Right there. You got the angle there.
This was Davy's indoctrination. A lot of throttling.
Notice it's starting to rain harder at this point. Yeah.
Skinny pedal and go.
Let's pause. So eventually I went to pull cable on that, and that the cable did not pull. Zach said release it, and it wasn't going. The motor was turning, but it was not coming out, and you could not physically pull the release on the clutch. So being that we'd been up that trail the night or 2 nights before, I knew that was going to be a long day if I didn't have a working winch. And so there's a side trail, that the one where Danny was backed up, and Chris had walked down it and said, "Hey, look, 200 yards, you're basically out. Just zoom down there and you can make your way out." So that's the decision I made. And he said, whatever you do, just don't turn on stripper pole. That's the name of the trail now. Stripper pole. He said, if you don't turn on stripper pole, you'll be fine. It'll take you straight to the pole barn. Cool. So I go down there and I see stripper pole and I pass it and I thought, all right, this is good. Home stretch. And then there was a mud hole. And I don't have the photo here. It's on Instagram if you want to see it. But it looked like every other mud hole we'd driven through, which was 1,000 of them, right? But I hit it at the front end. Just went,
not this time, my friend.
Not this time. It just went.
It's 5 feet deep. If you ever see it dry, it'll eat the dry.
So as soon as I hit it, the front end goes in. Luckily, it was basically to the back of the front doors. The middle row and the back of the truck stayed dry. but the water started coming in under the doors, and I opened the door and stepped out and basically fell to mid thigh when I stepped out in the hole. So I wasn't 100 yards from you guys, and I guess I was yelling, and you guys heard me, Zach, and so I saw Camo come thundering down the mountain, and we thought
something way worse had happened. So I was like, let's get down there as quickly as we can.
Oh, okay. Well, I appreciate that. I appreciate that.
If this will make you feel any better, Davey, and I hope this shows up here, but if maybe kind of
yeah, I can see that.
So that's Camo in the same hole.
Zach, come on.
VDR last year.
That's been in that hole before.
Memories a little fuzzy of that event.
It happens
Folks,
to the best of us.
Folks, Zach is the one that gave me the directions to get out of there. So,
if you got a good story,
it seems easy.
it was a good story. But man, that mud is so sticky and that suction is so bad that, you hook just a single line winch pull, it's not happening. So, we had to get a couple of snatch blocks and rig it up and it was still a job for Camo to pop that 200 out of there.
It was a big pull.
But literally, you're like 50 feet from the exit at that point. So if anybody ends up in that situation on Lucky's, there is a bypass to your far right that just is a nice little drive through the woods, and you're out.
With the only a 5 foot.
So the funny thing is, the truck. I got it back to camp, and on the 200s in the the kick panels on either side have 3 main connectors on either side behind them that are just, there's 100 pins in each one. So I'd pulled those out and cleaned everything out the best I could. Of course, the carpet's just dripping wet, and plugged it all back up and drove home. And she drove home fine. No problems, no lights, nothing. And then I got the carpet and everything pulled out. And like I was telling earlier, that's when this week is when the alternator, I think I told that, maybe that was before we were recording, is I got the winch unspooled finally, and I went to pull the winch back in, and the winch shut off on me. And then I realized that the truck was at a very low idle, and then put the voltmeter on it, and sure enough, it was dropping rapidly. So that's a 200,000 mile alternator, presumably, and I think that mud hole was its last hoorah. It is impressive that it got me 120 miles back home to the driveway before it died.
Absolutely.
Yeah, the brushes took the ball and went home.
Yeah,
absolutely. Because let's not forget, before we left on that trail ride, the reason we left on that trail ride so late, which was fine, but the reason we left so late for that trail ride is because we were busy, or some of the team was busy putting an alternator on Bob Pickles' FJ Cruiser.
That's correct. Yeah.
Which his gave up, and he wasn't going anywhere.
Which is luckily a little easier to get to on the FJ Cruiser than the 200s.
Yeah.
So let me show one more. I really want to show Ryan's truck. Man, this truck just continues to impress me. Let me pull this back in here.
Are you going to show the 40 making the squirrel scene come up the hill? Oh, that's the best video of the weekend, I think.
Yeah, we got Tone first, and I think Tone's already about halfway up it when we get this video. Let me fast forward this.
Speaking of which,
I love the turtle. That's an awesome truck.
If Tone's watching this later on, thanks for the whiskey glasses you left at camp.
Now this truck, this is professional driver. Don't forget, Davey, and I'm not sure if you got the picture of this later if I'm jumping to the punchline, but this truck ended up on its side later that night.
It does. Yeah. But then here's Ryan hitting that hill on 31s.
and giving it all the beans.
He was on the red one with the his poor door.
So yeah, that door, the day didn't end well for that door.
Doors bouncing off the rocks.
Well, think about it. The clutch didn't get a lot of use because it's standing on a drop shift.
And, there it is.
Later on Jester, in a similar scenario, that door comes off. Pretty sure got under the tire and got shot back about 30 yards.
Missed that spot.
I'm with you, Bush. I think that may have been one of the best runs of the weekend, and I think Ryan won an award from the event.
Yeah, he did.
Yeah,
for not getting out of the throttle.
Yeah, exactly.
He stayed in the throttle.
So there was one more ride. Oh, let's talk about this, Zach, before I click forward. You're going into bodywork now.
Yeah. So coming out of Jester, there's a rock, and we got cozy a few times, and I went to let the dog out, and the door wouldn't open. So rather than continuing on with the rest of it, the day was already kind of winding down. We've talked about a lot of that. So I just went back and was like, let me get my door to open.
Well, you got a winch cable wrapped around and hooked to your fender. I was wondering what was going on there.
Yeah, we smashed it flat a bit with a hammer, and that helped some. And then this was what got us the most of the last mile.
Yeah, I think Ridge and I were supervising this.
And I haven't touched it since this. This is how it's going to live. I feel like.
We didn't talk about that, Zach, but I was wondering, if we came off Jester, a handful of us dropped down into Maverick, and so I was wondering what happened to you because I figured you would run Maverick with us. And
I
you were
I couldn't get out of the truck, and I was irritated at it, so I went up there to do this.
So we've got a couple of clips. I think this is from Maverick.
Yeah, that's Maverick. Yeah.
So for those that haven't been in there, Maverick's got two turns in it that for wagons they're quarter panel heaters. And he's about to hit it.
Yeah, let me fast forward this where he hits that.
Yeah, this was kind of like last run of the day.
Yep.
When it's dry, you can go high enough you can miss it. But when it's like this, you're not missing anything.
He can't back up. He's into the bank.
Yeah,
he may already hit it. Let me back up.
Yeah, back it up a little bit, Dave, because you can't see the ledge right there. And one thing that's hard to tell is the fact that he's wedged in there he is wedged in there.
All right, we'll just watch the whole clip.
There's that ledge right there.
That crash you heard was a real That was a big hit. I wish I'd seen that. Yeah, I definitely missed something.
I'm going to pause that because I want to show if you're watching this, see back behind Elliot's truck here. The cool thing about this park is a lot of these trails and big obstacles, there's either a spectator trail that you can drive next to the obstacle trail, or they're right off a main trail where you can literally walk in and watch the action.
Yeah, that's what you're pointing out, Davey, is big hill. Like you were literally at this point, if it wasn't so wet and you could take the little out, you're literally 200 yards
Right there.
from camp at
Yeah.
this point. Yeah, I think we end up pulling a little cable here just to get over the hump.
I think we have learned this trail and tire carriers don't know.
Yes.
Well, we got footage of Elliot hitting it here, that same ledge.
The 40 doesn't have the same rear quarter panel problem that the wagons do. Plus, this is Elliot.
Right there. Yeah, that
Wow.
ledge.
Zach put his invisibility cloak on.
Uh-oh. Must have been a baby crying.
Beer run.
Shop air conditioner.
We'll give him that.
Fritz.
So, yeah, so like you said, Bush, that was kind of the last run of the day. And wait, did you guys end up in matching shirts now? Am I just noticing that?
Oh,
No,
no.
they've been matching from the get-go.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, buddy. Is yours the blue or the green, Mike?
That's the green.
Oh, mine's the blue. I mean, it's it's the lighting.
But the event wrapped up that night with dinner. Let me show here. And it stopped raining again for long enough to eat. I mean, we had a 30 or 40-minute break there before the raffle.
And then it started raining.
And then it started pouring.
Then it poured. Probably the hardest of the day.
But as far as the event itself, hats off to Melanie and her team. It's a small team, but they really put their heart and soul into this event. And when the weather's up against you like this, it does not make it easy. And it was a really, really fun night. Bush, I think this is when you were getting your face painting done.
Yeah, I was getting my face painted. That's right.
We can't see your britches in this clip. I wish we could show those.
It was the last pair of dry pants I had left. Like I was completely out of dry clothes. It was quite the wet weekend.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say.
The last pants out that early.
I think
that was a dicey decision to break those last dry pants out that early.
It probably was, but I wanted to be comfortable for dinner.
Yeah, I think everybody had experienced that. I mean, we all tried to pack accordingly, but we were all down to the last dry pair of clothes. It's funny, like the first day, everybody was in like proper rain gear, like they're gonna take on the elements correctly. And by Saturday, we were just in whatever you had.
By
Friday mid morning, you threw the towel in.
Yeah.
Well, all my rain gear was soaking wet because there's only so much rain it'll keep off of you, and whenever it stopped raining, it was so damn hot.
Yeah.
It was like a sauna inside that stuff. So yeah, it was just deal with it. We kept saying you just had to embrace the suck. Once you embrace the suck, it was great.
I wish I had gotten a picture of my last image leaving the park, and I think when I left, got packed up. I was the last one to pack up anything from the campground. So I'm walking around like picking up stray stuff. Got a couple of whiskey glasses, a chair, some other things. But I'm leaving the park. I'm sitting up there airing up, and I look over by the dumpster, and there's Davy's pop-up tent which looks like it had been
Oh,
through
yeah.
a hurricane. Just
It had been through a hurricane.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly.
Well, because you had it set up, and then you had the whole 10 people walking around, occasionally poking the water off of it, and then the storm kept on, and midnight everybody goes to bed, and then the maintenance stops, and you wake up the next morning, and a loud pop has happened.
We should poke drain holes in it.
That loud pop happened about, I don't know what, Davey, maybe 4 a.m.
That was about 4 a.m. That was a fun night. We had gone. So I had a nice, like a 10 by 10 awning tent that we'd set up, and then Tone showed up, and Tone had a tent that only had 3 legs when he got there, and because Bush, you helped him set it up, right?
Yeah.
And so we had duct taped them together and duct taped it to a tree, and they'd served their purpose because, man, I wish I'd put the picture in here. But at 1 o'clock that morning, as we were reliving that night ride, our buddy Bruce showed up with an entire, not only did he show up with a couple of fifths of some quality bourbon, but an entire Chick-fil-A platter at 1 o'clock in the morning, like a catering platter. And to this day, we don't know where he got it, where it came from.
Yeah, we're sitting around drinking beer, sipping the brown water, laughing, and Bruce is like, "Oh, I forgot." And he disappears for a second and comes out with a giant tray of chicken, which was the best thing ever.
He's just very prepared.
Well, and that's a testament, I think, too, to this event, that park, some of the other stuff we do at that park. You know, Bruce showed up in his GX on stock tires, no plans of wheeling it or anything. Shows up, parks it, hangs out, rides with people all weekend, had the time of his life. So.
Yep.
Yes, Grinder Mike indoctrinated Bruce to 90s rap on that night ride. So they had a big time. Yeah.
Yeah, Bruce loved every minute of it.
Well,
I loved it. I loved every minute of it. I mean, it's always so much fun.
It was a blast. It really was. Like I said, it was my first time at the event, my first time at that park, and I'm anxious to get back there, which hopefully will be here in just about 6 weeks for VDR.
Yeah,
that's right. Yeah,
So,
Hot Sound Camp Out, VDR.
we encourage everybody to come down. Just give us a shout and get it set up.
So yeah, so if you're in the Southeast and you're watching this and you want to make your way up to Hawk Pride, reach out to any of us. Visitors are always welcome. This is a Hot South annual event, but guests are welcome to come join it on Veterans Day weekend.
Yep,
it's a good time.
Come on. We'll be
It's not an event per se. There's no registration. There's nothing to sign up. This is a show up and pitch in and just have a good time. Just a club ride with a few friends, if you will.
Yeah, we're trying to raise some money for a local veterans charity as well. So we'll be running the smoker and have keg beer to drink, and we'll donations get you fed.
There you go.
There'll be probably 30, 40 pounds of barbecue on, plenty of food. So come do it.
Yep.
All right. Well, before we wrap this up, let me show this final video. So I mentioned earlier we had a couple of young guys that had joined us, Zach Sutherland and his buddy Anderson and a couple other of their buddies. They're all, I believe, 17 years old, high school seniors, and this was their not their first wheeling trip, but this was a pretty epic adventure for them to be on. And Tone, Zach's father, let him take the 40 out on a night run. I believe this was on Saturday night. And they learned some life lessons. Let's put it that way.
Yes, they did.
So let me pull this up.
That's crazy. All right, we're going.
there's the 40 that we saw earlier, affectionately known as Turtle, flopped on its side. It looks like Ginger, your truck is doing this recovery.
Yeah, they were getting ready to go on a night ride. Me and Tone and a few of us were up at the pavilion hanging out, and they talked about taking the Turtle, and I'm like, well, what happens if you get in trouble? You taking 2 trucks? Like, oh, we don't have another one. I was like, well, just go get Ginger. And so let them take Ginger out. Good thing they did, right? Because they had it to do the recovery. And I'll tell you, Tone is a unique individual. They called on the radio, and we're sitting up there talking, and they told Tone, hey, Dad. Zach, he was like, hey, Dad. Tone was like, yeah, what's up? He's like, hey, we flopped the 40. Tone said, okay. And they said, what do we do? And he was like, flop it back over.
What's your plan to unflop it?
Yeah, what's your plan to unflop it? And that was pretty much it. They were like, okay. Yeah, Tone, and they figured it out, right? They got to figure it out. So, but I do think they had an epic adventure.
They had a really good time.
Of that.
Well,
Anderson's going to come down this weekend. He had a great big time.
That's awesome. Well, that really shows what it's all about. We love seeing these young bucks get out there and become a part of this community. I mean, it makes it that much more fun. So, good way to wrap up the weekend, and can't wait to do it again. So, I appreciate you gentlemen, you merry band of idiots, joining me here and recapping this for folks. So if you're watching this on YouTube, maybe sometime in the next year, and you're like, oh yeah, I'd fit in with those guys, then go check out the Louisiana Land Krewesers site, or the Hot South site, or the STLCA site, and come join us at any of these events around the area, and we'd be happy to have you. So thank you, guys. We'll call it a night.
Yeah, thanks, man. We'll see you later.
See ya.
All right.